Good morning, teachers. Today I am going to deal with an important topic in English language, and the topic is an outline of English grammar. Generally, when the teachers teach grammar in classrooms, they think of grammar which is prescribed for that class or which is prescribed for that particular year. Beyond that, teachers don't go. It is very difficult to teach grammar of a foreign language in Indian schools because concepts of grammar in mother tongue, in a regional language, and concepts of grammar in English, there is a lot of difference between them. So this is the hurdle. Teachers need to have a good knowledge of regional language, mother tongue, while teaching grammar of foreign language. The most important fact is that we are taught in a literary frame. We means teachers who are contemporary of me. You are young teachers, not you. When we learnt English, we are taught in a literary frame. Literature was important. Grammar's depth was important. Now nobody goes to literature. Nobody goes to the depth of studying grammar deeply. Now there is a syllabus activity based, competency based, skill based. These things impart surface knowledge of that subject and not the deeper knowledge. And if you want to teach your students very effectively, you need to know the topic deeply. Grammar refers to both the study of language and art. The great writer Whitney, an eminent advocate of grammar as a science, declared that grammar did not make laws and rules. There is misunderstanding. When the teachers teach grammar of any language, they speak of rules. There are no rules and laws in grammar. So Whitney declared that grammar did not make laws and rules. It only reports good facts of language, things which are good for language, which can be accepted. Say for example, I have written one example here. It's me. It is an ungrammatical expression. If you go to someone's house, your friend's house, your relative's house, the door is shut, you ring the doorbell, and the person inside who comes to open the door, before opening the door, he says, "Who is it?" In English he says, "Who is it?" Then you say, "It's me." And then tell your name. It's me, Rahul. It's me, Sachin. But grammatically, this sentence is not correct. The reason is that the verb of to be, it means is, never followed by accusative case. Grammatically, it should be it's I. Grammatically. But in spoken English, it is accepted. though it is ungrammatical. Highly educated people accept this ungrammatical form. It is not a good fact for language. If someone says it's science, the others laugh at him, though he is correct. Because repeatedly it is used. So the function of grammar is that it recommends good facts for language. We should go to the etymology of the word grammar. What grammar is? The etymology means the origin of that word. From where it came, what is its root, how that word is formed. It is called etymology. This word etym means root. Ology is a Greek suffix. It means science. Ology is not the spelling. Ology is a suffix. Its meaning is science or study. The meaning of the word etymology is science of the origin, study of the origin. The etymology of the word grammar shows sharp changes. It would take 2 hours to explain actually that revelation in grammar. But in short, I have written here, the word grammar comes from Greek language. It means letter of the alphabet. Letter of the alphabet. Then gradual changes took place and this word is used, grapheme. It comes from Latin. Grapheme means to draw or to write. To draw or to write. Then after some years, again this word is used, grammaticus. It is Latin word. Grammaticus means rudiments of writing. The ways of writing, correct ways of writing. And during the medieval period, there would be always changes in spelling of the words. And there was custom to use R as a suffix. So this TICUS was removed and medieval R is added here. So GRAMMAR, this way from grammar to grammar. The changes went on and the word grammar came into existence. This is the revelation, history, etymology of the word grammar. The famous writer Nelson Francis said that there was revelation in the field of grammar. And according to him, there are 3 meanings of the word grammar. Grammar 1, he said, grammar 1, it means a set of formal pattern of language in which the words are arranged to convey the meaning. Formal pattern of language in which the words are used, arranged in such a way to convey the meaning. This is called grammar 1. Grammar 2, it means it is a branch of linguistic science concerned with description, analysis and formalization of language patterns. Description, analysis and formalization of language patterns. And grammar 3, it means it is a linguistic etiquette. Etiquette means discipline. Some experts describe grammar as Discipline in organizing the words. Discipline in organizing the words. So, the teacher must always need to know three meanings of grammar. And then, description of language comprises of three components. These components are very important. First component of description of language is phonology. Phone means sound. Ology means science, science of sound. Phonology, it deals with sound system, vowels, consonants, diphthongs, all related to the sound, called phonology. Second is, grammar has two sub-components. One is morphology. Morpheme means the smallest unit of the word. Base word, we add prefix or suffix and we extend that word. Say for example, courage, encourage, discourage, short, shorten. We add suffix in the end, prefix in the beginning and make that word, extend that word. Morpheme is the smallest unit of word. And ology is science. Science of the smallest unit of word is called morphology. Syntax is a sentence pattern, structure of sentences. So these are two subcomponents of grammar, morphology and syntax. Third component of language description is lexicon. Lexicon means use of dictionary. What is the basic function of dictionary? It lists the words together and provides the meaning. Now the modern dictionaries play different roles. They also give the grammar codes in bracket. Then there are two types of grammar: descriptive grammar and prescriptive grammar. Descriptive grammar aims to present the usage. It underlines the usage, use of the words, correct use of the words. And prescriptive grammar tells us how to write and how to speak. These are two important words: descriptive grammar and prescriptive grammar. Then nowadays, during the last 3 decades, radical changes have taken place in the field of ELT. It means English language teaching. And totally the dimensions and nature of grammar teaching is changed. Grammar is same, but because of constant use, there are revelations, there are developments in the field of language, and then the terms and the way of using the words changes. Now the new dimension speaks of functional grammar. Grammar which puts the pattern of language together and the things that we do with them is called functional grammar. You cannot give the particular definition. The function of that word depends on the use of that word, the place of that word in the sentence. One funny example, listen, if I say, if some person says, I punished my son. And in this sentence, you are asked to use the word only. And if you use it in the beginning, only I punished my son, only I, no other person. If you change the place and use it, I only punished my son, It means I only punished him. Didn't do anything else, didn't scold, didn't shout. And if you change the place, I punished my only son. I have only one son, and when a person has only one son, he shows much favor. So he says, I punished my only son. So meaning changes according to the placement of the word. This is functional grammar. Then very important element in teaching grammar of foreign language, teacher has to consider word and dictionary. Grammar is not only transformation, it is not analysis, it is not a sentence. Each and every word is associated with grammar. For example, if we use the word recall and reminisce, R-E-M-I-N-I-S-C-E, recall and reminisce, both express the same meaning of remembering something that has happened in the past. Recall, reminisce, similar meaning. So in the sentence, listen carefully the sentence. Two friends talked for hours recalling their school days. Two friends after many years meet. The two friends talked for hours recalling their school days. In the same sentence, you can say two friends talked for hours reminiscing their school days. The word is replaced, but the second sentence is not correct. Though they are similar in meaning, when you consider the grammar, then second sentence using reminiscing in place of recalling is wrong. The reason is that recall is a transitive verb. It is always followed by direct object. And reminiscing cannot be followed by a direct object. So when you consider the meaning, both words are same. But when you consider grammar, then they are not same. This example proves that words having similar meaning do not have similar grammar. So we have to use the words carefully. Meanings may be same, but they may differ in grammatical use. The next important fact that plays important role while teaching grammar is pragmatics of language. The very recent change. If you take example of 100 teachers, maybe teaching in schools, colleges, wherever, 1% teachers know it, pragmatics of language. It means the study of language affected by the intention of the speaker, purpose of the speaker, and also the relationship between the speaker and the hearer. Say for example, you come out of your house, open the gate, and you see someone has parked a car in front of your gate, and that person is standing near that car. He is a stranger to you, you don't know him. So you will open the gate, look at him angrily, and you will say, "Is this your car?" It is a question, but you are not asking him a question. Is this your car means your car is blocking my way, remove it. The speaker's intention. But the person who has parked a car there and it is a very new model, very luxurious car, and your friend is standing with that car. And a friend who cannot afford to buy such a car, and you see such a friend with such a car, and you say, is this your car? It means you are not in a position financially, in a position to afford such a car. How did you buy it? Meaning changes. Or the same friend with very old model car, tires in not good condition, windows broken, the steering wheel wobbling, jerking, and you will say, is this your car? It means how terrible it is. Why don't you change it? This is pragmatics of language. Pragmatics means the study of language affected by the intention of the speaker. And second, the relationship between the speaker and the hearer. Grammar is of not one type. Here we have an alike. Grammar 1, grammar 2, grammar 3, they are based on meaning. Then 3 components of description of language: phonology, grammar, lexicon. Then descriptive grammar and prescriptive grammar. Then new dimensions, functional grammar. Then grammar of words. Just I told you, each and every word is associated with grammar. Words having similar meaning do not have similar grammar. Grammar functions are different. Grammar for communication is different. Grammar for meaning is different. Grammar for writing is different. All in all, grammar is discipline of using the words and writing correct sentences. It can be, in short, called a science of good writing. Grammar is a science of good writing. And nowadays, I recommend 2 books. One, Collins Cobalt Grammar. The textbook which are prepared, while preparing many dictionaries are used, but prominently this dictionary, Collins Cobalt Grammar, is used because it deals with functional grammar. On the cover page of this book, there is one appealing line which speaks of the importance of that book, Collins Cobalt Grammar. On the cover page at the bottom there is a line, Collins Cobalt Grammar, written by Collins. It is the name of writer given to that book. Helping learners to learn real English. Helping learners to learn real English. If you study that book, you will learn real English, functional grammar. Second is grammar book written by Geoffrey Leach, a very high standard book. If you teach tense in the class, we follow the traditional way. Each tense we divide into 4. Simple present, continuous present, perfect present, perfect continuous. But if you study grammar very deeply, there are only 2 tenses in English: simple tense and compound tense. Say for example, he sells books to earn his living is a sentence. And to the students, if you give this and ask to identify the tense, they will say it is simple present tense, student level answer. But teacher, he sells books to earn his living, simple present grammatically, but if you consider the meaning, it is all inclusive tense. It is called all inclusive tense. How? Say for example, I teach English. I was teaching in the past. I teach at present, I will teach few more years. It means present, past and future. All tenses are included. So this sentence on high level, if you consider the meaning, it is all inclusive tense. So this point you have to keep in mind all the time, not the surface meaning. You have to consider in what context it is used, what is the meaning behind it. Then you have to give the answer. Then Longman Contemporary Dictionary of English. Few pages, introductory pages. So beautiful description is given how to use the dictionary, how to read grammar, what symbols are used. In that dictionary, some words are printed in red color, not to make the book attractive, but to show active vocabulary and passive vocabulary. Words we which commonly use, they come under active vocabulary. Words which we rarely use, they go to passive vocabulary. 2000 words most commonly used in speaking are labeled in that dictionary as yes to. In bracket it is written yes to. Teachers don't understand what is that yes to. Yes to means it is one of the 2000 words which we use in speaking. W2, one of the 2000 words used in writing. So in teaching grammar, dictionary plays vital role. So two prominent books I told, Collins Corbett Grammar and the grammar book written by Geoffrey Leach, and other university grammar, Crane and Martin, old book. Nothing is wrong in that, but only traditional grammar is changed. It is now termed as functional grammar. Grammar comes to you if you know language. We always make grammar great, so it is difficult. And we always teach grammar separately. This should not happen. Grammar is a part of language. And if you know language, you know grammar. Language is just like a tree. It always grows, its branches grow. Nobody can prevent, nobody can stunt the growth of a tree. Even if you try to stop the growth, some creeper is growing, and if you put some hurdle in the way of growing that tree or creeper, it makes the way from other side, goes up and grows. Language is like that. Language always grows, and with that, grammar. So remember that grammar is a part of language. If you study language, then you can know grammar. Teachers need to have the knowledge of the word grammar right from its etymology, origin, and its revelation till today. The recent changes with the passage of time. So I think this short information will help you to study grammar on your level and then teach the students very effectively. Thank you very much.